Will you join us?
It's showtime.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
If you're not here, you missing out, because this show...
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, listen up.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast.
This is Santo, and you're watching the Alliance Guys podcast on YouTube.
This is the world famous cheeseburger, and you're watching the Alliance Guys podcast here on YouTube.
This is Bruno Bob Evans, and you're watching the Alliance Guys podcast on YouTube.
We are the Alliance Guys podcast. I almost forgot the name of the show, DKM. What's going on? How are you today, sir? And you are muted, just so you know. If you're speaking, I can't hear you.
Well, you know, hearing things are greatly exaggerated.
Exaggerated or overrated?
Sure. Whichever one you like.
I don't know that I like either one of them, to be quite honest with you.
Well, you're just whining, aren't you?
You say whiny. I say selective outrage.
Selective.
So what's good? How is your Thursday treating you?
We were really busy at my part-time job today, so take that
on the worn out side.
Yeah, a little tired, a little.
Gotcha.
You ever been?
I've been there. I'm there right now. What are you talking about? It's been a week, man. And it's mostly been a good week, but if I could humbly brag for a minute. Hey, Pethead, how you doing? What's up, noob? If I could humbly brag for just a moment, I literally have been live streaming about, I want to say 8 hours this week. This will be hour number 8 and 9. If my memory serves me correctly. We did 2 interviews Monday, we interviewed the great Gary Michael Capetta. On Tuesday, we interviewed Big Bad Mama, the United Wrestling Network Women's World Champion. Then we did our 2 hours on Tuesday, the pre-party, which goes for an hour, and the hour before. And I think, so my timeout was off a little bit, but still, that's a lot of time for someone to be online talking. And so I'm happy to be here, but I'm exhausted. I think I might take the next week off.
I think you should take next week off.
I might. Before we get too much further into the show, now we do like to talk about the NWA, the United Wrestling Network, and this Saturday, obviously, is the Crockett Cup, a big deal for the National Wrestling Alliance. They're going to be out there in Forney, Texas. The Crockett Cup has already kind of started on television with the Roku, but also this weekend we have the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators at the South Jersey Geek Fest. I almost forgot the name there for a minute, and that will be, I know. But our buddies over at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators will be doing live matches all day at the South Jersey Geek Fest, including friend of the show, Gary Michael Capetta. He'll be there signing autographs and books, and I think that's pretty cool. So if you're out in South Jersey, you could do that. If you're in Texas, there is the NWA on Saturday. And out here in Southern California, in Long Beach, don't you know, Thunder Studios, they will be promoting the next episode of Sunday Night Slam, which you could actually watch. If you can't make it in person, you could watch it right here on youtube.com/The Alliance Blog. We are a partner with the United Wrestling Network, and we're like one of maybe a dozen or so YouTube channels that will be streaming that program. But if you are looking for something to do on Easter evening, we will be streaming it live right here on YouTube.
Yay!
Did you hear the matches? Do you want to know the matches? Do you care about the matches?
I do want to know the matches.
Because I think this is so. The first episode I think was really, really good, and I was very happy with it. But this week on Sunday Night Slam, they'll have the return of Fred Rosser, also known as Darren Young in the WWE. Also, some people like to think of him as he was like one of the first openly gay professional wrestlers in the WWE. He's been a big part of New Japan Strong, and I believe he's worked with New Japan USA as well. But he'll be challenging Jordan Cruz for the United Wrestling Network World Championship. Also in action, former tag team champions Midnight Heat, which is Gibson and Pearl, will be taking on the 5150, which is Limelight and Boogie. From a local match here, El Primo Hino will be taking on Koto Hiro. The United Wrestling Network World Television Championship will be decided when Evan Daniels defends against Jack Cartwheel, straight direct from AAA. We also have Matthias taking on Cha Cha Charlie. A lot of Coastal Championship Wrestling fans will know Cha Cha Charlie. Direct from WOW, Simone, who used to wrestle for the United Wrestling Network many years ago, she makes her return, and she'll be taking on Gypsy Mac. There's also supposed to be the debut of the Lucha Kings, although I don't know if they're going to be able to be Lucha-ing, considering the fact that one of the Lucha Kings got hurt. What's up, Jaden? How are you today?
No, they hurt a Lucha King?
Yeah, not Bamboo, but El Rey, the King of Mexico.
I'm so disappointed.
Not more than I am, but that's one of my favorite tag teams. People often ask me, look, I can't take credit for it, but people have often asked me, like, do you scout wrestlers? Do you give suggestions? And absolutely I do. And I have a list of talent that I've handed over to the fine people at the United Wrestling Network. And the Lucha Kings were high on my list as a potential tag team that they should feature. They would work perfectly with a lot of the high-flying acts that are currently wrestling in the United Wrestling Network. But unfortunately, it looks like El Rey is going to be out for a while. So that's a little bit of a disappointment.
Sounds like it.
Hey, Jaden, how are you?
I'm doing well. I did hear you mention wow.
Yeah. I think she wrestled, and now I'm gonna have to look it up because I can't remember. But Simone has wrestled under a few different aliases in the past. She's a former WoW champion. Wow. I think it was like Princess. Oh man, not Tasha Simone. That's not her. Simone Sherry. I think that's what she wrestled as. Yes, she's wrestled as CC Chanel, Princess Aussie, and Simone Sherry. But she has also previously competed for the NWA. Not the NWA, the United Wrestling Network. She was on the original Primetime Live series. I think she had a match with Camille, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
That's weird. Yeah, it was she was featured in a match with Camille that aired on NWA Shockwave in 2020, which was just the bastardized version of Primetime Live that featured NWA only matches. Hey, look, it's Alex Misery.
Hi, Ball.
No,
Matthew Underwood said that the tag match will be match of the night if given time. Are we talking about Midnight Heat and 5150? Because I kind of agree. That match is almost happened once before, because you got to remember Midnight Heat are former United Wrestling Network tag team champions, and they defended those titles against Papo Esco and Danny Limelight 5150. And actually 5150, or back then they were La Bodega, they actually defended the titles against Midnight Heat. So I think that there's a lot of chemistry there, and it should be a fun match.
And that's available where?
Right here on this channel, youtube.com/The Alliance Blog, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. It's a 90 minutes of wrestling that you do not want to miss. And if you're going to watch it anywhere, you might as well watch it with your boy Jay right over here on The Alliance Blog.
Are you going to go on TikTok live at the same time too?
No. So, listen. I don't have a strong connection, but I do have some connections at the United Wrestling Network. And what I wish I could do is broadcast it through what I'm using right now, Restream, and then that way I could share it on TikTok and Twitch and on YouTube. But unfortunately, I don't have that ability to change it up on United Wrestling Network. But it should air on the YouTube channel with no problems. We did have a few difficulties last time, and I won't be there live this time, but I will be watching from home, just like you guys.
Well, I do know there's a lot of videos on TikTok where somebody's basically, you can hear a little bit of the audio in the background, but they're just, the camera's on them and they're talking about what they're seeing. That's a hot thing on TikTok right now. There's this one lady, I forget her name. She kind of looks like a female version of Charles Nelson Riley. But she is really popular, like Brizzy or something, Lizzie, I don't know, something like that. She's real popular, and she got not Lizzie.
Okay. I'm like, what are we doing here? Good night, everybody.
But she's real popular on TikTok, watching basically a video of her watching something on SmackDown, Raw, or whatever WWE, because she's a WWE fan. Actually, she watches AEW too, I believe. So she watches a little bit of everything, and it's popular. So maybe you should jump on the bandwagon.
Jump on the bandwagon.
Well, my good friend Soto619, he keeps encouraging me to watch the NWA in a similar fashion that he watches SmackDown and Raw and AAA and all that other stuff. And I gotta be honest, it's not easy to do what he does. And I know a lot of people think, well, you're just watching wrestling. It's not that easy. And you know, it is what it is. Chris Shoemaker says the hottest thing on TikTok right now is the Wrestling Alliance with J Cow. God bless you, sir. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
What is that on the side of DK's?
That
graphic?
I think is part of his head. What he's using is a graphic, like a background. So I think we're seeing part of his head.
First, I thought it was his dog's nose.
It still might be his dog's nose. I'm not gonna tell you for sure what it is. Matthew Underwood said stream in the Discord. I mean, you guys certainly could, but I think I'd much rather everyone was watching on the channel, if you hear what I'm saying. But
and YouTube is available everywhere in the world, right?
Everywhere. Like if you live in the UK, Jane, you can watch it there. So could Fiona. So could Tim Wood. So could Dodie. Dodie could be watching it in Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Did I call out everybody? Who am I
I'm sure we
missing?
forgot somebody.
See, Jane thought it was funny.
Yes.
All right.
Does he really?
So it's a small world, right? So Jane and I both have a mutual admiration, as well as you guys, for Pollo Del Mar. And Jane found me through Pollo. And one day I was on YouTube and Jane jumped in the chat and I said, "Oh, I'm glad you're here." And Jane was kind of familiar with what we were doing. And it turns out that Jane discovered us through Pollo Del Mar. Pretty cool, right?
6 degrees of separation. I want some bacon now.
My wife made some pinto beans with jalapenos and bacon. Woo! It was so good. So very
Can you just leave out the pinto beans? I'll just keep, honestly, just hand me the bacon. It's good because of the bacon. It isn't good because of the pinto beans.
I love, well, okay, yeah. Look, it's a staple shelf, right? It's a staple food. It's got a long shelf life, and I feel like it's very enjoyable. And we're trying to save money, Jaden. I'm trying to save money.
You don't know my opinion of staples.
Wow. All right.
All right. So now that we're going to try to get a little lively here, what did we miss, and what can we go into next? Is there anything coming up in the NWA?
So we actually did the rundown. So this Saturday, of course, if you are on the East Coast, in the Northeast to be exact, New Jersey, Philly, and really even as far as Delaware, come on down to the South Jersey Geek Fest. I almost messed up the name again. The South Jersey Geek Fest, where you can meet Gary Michael Capetta along with the stars of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. They will be in action throughout the day. Don't you forget that, when Dog is in town, you're going to see some good wrestling action. And I'm sure later in the show, Jane will give us a rundown of some of the matches that are already planned for this weekend. Then also, the NWA does have an event as well. If you can't make it to South Jersey and you are in the Southwest, if you're near Forney, Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, any of those good, wonderful, wholesome towns of Texas, you can check out the National Wrestling Alliance, as they will be producing the Crockett Cup 2026 right there down in Forney, Texas at the OC Theater, a place that Mr. DKM and myself have been to watch the Crockett Cup. Actually, it's a pretty cool little venue, and it's a fun little wrestling show. And if you guys just now tuning in, those are two events you could take on Saturday, and then on Sunday, if you can't make it to Long Beach, California, you can watch right here on youtube.com/The Alliance Blog. Check out a little bit of Sunday Night Slam from the United Wrestling Network, powered by the Alliance Blog. There we go.
Lots of W.
And lots of W. Chris Shoemaker said the money is on the shelf behind you, Jay. Let some of it go. You talk about the action figures? A lot of those were gifts. I don't typically buy things for myself. I mean, look, I do buy some things for myself, but I try to make sure I get good prices on them at Ross. But I don't buy it.
Somebody lied to me and said they were available at Ross. I went to Ross, and all I found was it looked like a bunch of dirty shirts.
You were in the wrong section. I did get both of those. The
Looks like Demona and Brooklyn. No,
Yes. Not Brooklyn, Bronx.
Bronx. Yeah.
Both of these were acquired at Ross, which and then my boy Soto goes to Ross and buys AEW action figures to flip.
Dirty clothes and garbage wrestling.
Garbage wrestling. I have no problem with the clothes at Ross, but my wife prefers me not to shop there.
Why?
Okay.
I don't know. She's more bougie. Look, if I'm going to be completely honest, I'm a bit of a cheapskate, and I love deals and bargains, and I can't be held responsible for that. Now, hey, there's something in the chat that I'm going to allow Mr. Jaden to address. Now, I know he is only a representative of the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. He is not the president, owner, CEO, Dr. Lord Zirconium, but I think Jaden can fill this answer. And Jaden, with no further ado, would Dog ever rejoin the NWA?
Highly unlikely. At least not of the way it's currently done. Both myself and Dr. Zirconium are way too opinionated, and some people are way too thin-skinned, and they wouldn't be able to handle either one of us. And I'm worse. I'm definitely worse, but still. Dr. Z knows how to be political. I'm a little more on the nose, but I don't think they'll be able to handle the truthfulness. And honestly, right now, would be very little, if any, benefit. Plus, we're currently members and sanctioned by the World Wrestling Grand Prix, so we already have a sanctioned body sanctioning us, and we have two champions that we often get from the WWGP, thanks to the CEO of the World Wrestling Grand Prix, Blurt Snertzen. I don't really know his name, honestly. I don't pay attention. I'm lucky I know Dr. Zirconium.
Did you say Blurt?
Blurt Snertzen.
No. It's James J. Holler. Everybody knows that.
Oh my gosh. It could have been Gary Michael Capetta if they were hiring.
Well, no, there's a whole sanctioning board, and I have no idea who any of them are. Dr. Zirconium, I think, is a minor board member, but they don't give him the respect, even though he's pretty much carrying the damn World Wrestling Grand Prix on his back.
Well, everybody's got to do something.
Yeah.
What about the famous Northeastern promoter Dick Hertz? Is he still around?
No, actually.
I'm out.
He's suffering hard times right now. His back's real stiff.
Been kicked in the butt on the way out the door.
Oh, man. I
think you need to walk away because he couldn't stop laughing.
I can't with you.
Or he's been drinking. One of those two.
He never spares the rod, for sure, though.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
We can still hear you.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic.
Definitely. Dick Hertz, though, it's a lot of fallacy.
Jesus. Chris Shoemaker says I should buy merchandise and then sell it with my signature on it. And I think the only one I could get away with would be like doing it something like this, like the Kevin Owens figures, maybe. Although that doesn't even look like Kevin Owens in there. It doesn't look like me either.
Does that mean you look like Kevin Owens?
People think I look like Kevin. I saw your hand, DK. The all-power hand.
Do-do-do-do.
Look, and he said he wouldn't work with a puppet, but here he is, puppeteering right there. Just put a sock on it.
That's Thing. Thing is not a puppet. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Chris Shoemaker points out that Dick Hertz has been hanging out with Mike Hunt. Can you confirm that rumor?
Oh, yeah. They've been pounding it down all for a while now.
You went too far. No. Okay. Patrick Moore then said, I thought that the World Wrestling Grand Prix only has one dog promotion. Are there more promotions in the WWGP?
The WWGP sanctions other promotions. Many of them are in hiatus right now. Originally, at its peak, there was 12 members of the World Wrestling Grand Prix at its peak. most of which were former NWA members, all of which now are not currently promoting, but they're still technically in good standing. And Frontier Wrestling Destiny, even though, again, it's not currently promoting, wasn't a member of the World Wrestling Grand Prix, but they're still a paying member of the World Wrestling Grand Prix. So you may see them. And they are trying to recruit the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance. So hopefully one day we'll see them as part of MAWA. I mean, a part of the WWGP.
Yeah. I know MAWA isn't a part of the WWGP, but they're like adjacent, right?
They're a sister promotion of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. So, while again, they don't necessarily are not part of the World Wrestling Grand Prix, some matches are sanctioned by DOG in MAWA. So the matches there affect the rankings of MAWA and World Wrestling Grand Prix and Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. So, those sanctioned matches, even again, they're not necessarily part of the WWGP. They do have a relevance when it comes to future contenders.
There you go. So we'll talk a little bit more about DOG later in the show because, of course, the big event happening at the South Jersey Geek Fest. I'm hoping Jaden will have some matches, some lineups to talk about. But let's go ahead and get back to the Crockett Cup because we are the NWA podcast of record. I don't think there's anyone out there that's been doing it longer, better, or any other adjective that you could use to describe a podcast. We've been doing this since 2009. That's damn near, 17 years, 18 years?
After 13, it becomes glorious.
Uh-oh. But Matthew Underwood brings up a very good question. The Crockett Cup, without a card other than the tournament, is worrisome. As a fan of the NWA, I too am a little perturbed why there aren't more matches announced. And Jaden, because you've worked on both sides as a promoter, as an event producer, as an executive producer, as a showrunner, and everything else, what does that mean when a promotion doesn't have a card? As a big of an event as the Crockett Cup is, we're only like a few days out, and they, obviously they can't announce a card for this week's Power because that's already passed, and we know it's going to be featuring the Crockett Cup. We understand that, and some of those matches need to air on TV before it makes sense. But there is no official card announced for this event. Is that a problem?
I think as a promoter, yes. But what I think the NWA was doing is they're trying to mitigate the leakage of storylines and maybe potential things that have happened or are going to happen that have not been seen yet. So it might be available for somebody who is at 40 Texas might put the results out. But otherwise, it'll pretty much remain very isolated in just the crowd of the NWA who, like us, probably won't have idea things happened until they show up there. But it's a good way to mitigate some of the information getting out if they don't put a card out there. Like we kind of already made sense that Thoroughbilly was going to win a championship and because he was going to defend it against Latimer. And there was a lot of other things that got, made sense, leaked some ideas of something happening. So, yeah, I think it's just a way to keep the information set. Locally, as a promoter, though, I don't know if in the area the whole card is on some kind of poster and we just haven't seen it yet. But the tournament it's the attraction itself. And they don't have, say, a Natalia or something, or Rhino or something that big theoretically, to be able to really get the word out there to grab a buzz. So I think it's mostly probably a local event to keep some of the costs down. I mean, they're already bringing in a lot of tag teams, and I don't necessarily know how much they're making on the Roku app and streaming service. So they may be trying to mitigate some of the costs by not necessarily bringing a name in, a high name. Theoretically, I mean, we might see whoever the women's tag team champions are. It's currently the Hex. We'll probably see the NWA World Heavyweight Championship being defended. Probably, unfortunately, Silas Mason taking on Brian Idol.
Yeah.
And we'll probably not see the tag championship on the line. And maybe if we're lucky, we'll see the women's television title on the line. And maybe a new world TV champion will be crowned if it hasn't already. So that's, what we'll see. And I think they kept some of the matches down so they have more time to record stuff that isn't necessarily part of the cup. Yeah. So the wrestlers who have already been eliminated might have something to do in other matches. And maybe we'll see that as part of this thing to fill out the roster with people that are already, fill out the television taping with people that are already on the roster who are not currently part of the cup.
I will point out a few things as I'm looking over the live event press release from the NWA for this Saturday's event. Now they have scheduled to appear, which is the
By the
Southern
way, Dog
Six.
runs events. Other wrestling companies run shows. Go ahead.
Sure. Southern Six will appear. Of course, the World's Heavyweight Champion, Alex Taylor, Kerry Morton, who did advance to the Crockett Cup. They will be in the second round. We've got the Women's Champion, Natalia Markova, the World Tag Team Champions, the Immortals. Thom Latimer on the card. It doesn't mention El Dragon Nihan, so take that for what it's worth. The Good Brothers, Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows, Pretty Empowered, Kenzie Page and Kylie Page. We have the NWA TV Champion, Brian Idol. Aaron Stevens, Federation of Champions, Carson Bartholomew Drake and his cousin Lockjaw, the NWA National Heavyweight Champion, Mike Mondo, the World Junior Heavyweight Champion, Slade, the NWA US Tag Team Champions, the Slime Balls, TVMA's Women's TV Champion, Tiffany Nieves, with Miss Star and the Towering Greta, Knox and Murdoch, the NWA Texas Champion, Izzy James, the NWA Texas TSW Champion, Bam Bam Malone, the Holy Grail, Pretty Smooth and Pastor CeeLo, the Colognes, Primo and Epico, the Big Strong Mims and the Pope, Joe Cazana, the Country Gentleman, and more to be announced. So some names that are missing from there are the Hex, who are your NWA Women's Tag Team Champions. I also didn't see Wrecking Ball Legursky's name listed on there. I also didn't see, let's see, who else is missing? We didn't see the Hard Way listed on there. Jack Vaughn and Dalton McKenzie. We didn't see their names on there. So there are a few key names missing from this event.
How come we don't call them Jack and Dalton?
Because I don't like the way that sounds. And of course, Jade says, "Go Tom." Keep that UK connection very, very strong. So there are a lack of names that are on this event. They mentioned PB Smooth, but they didn't mention Hayden Backlund, who obviously he made his Power debut this week and promptly has been eliminated from the cup, but doesn't look like he'll be there.
Didn't see Talos' name either, did I? Did you say it?
No, but we do know that Talos and Ren will be there as part of the Titans of Calamity, so we do know that there are some people going to be there that aren't necessarily listed. And then Matthew Underwood also points out we could probably see the Immortals face Devastation Reborn. Sure. I don't know if that's going to happen. And then, Chris Shoemaker says, "Where's the Lost?" Yeah, no Alexander Miserable listed, no Lost listed.
Please find them.
So there are some missing elements. He was here earlier. There are some missing elements. Okay, there are some missing elements to this year's Crockett Cup. And again, that's not to be said that they won't be there. It's just that they didn't put their name on the advertisement for the event. So the one person I know that's close enough to be there is opting not to go because, well, there's no card announced. It's a far drive. And honestly, it's just it's not looking like it's in the cards. But DKM, what do you think about seeing your guys, not your guys, but the Texas talent showcasing at the Crockett Cup?
Well, it's more than they did last time. Last time they were there when we were there for the Crockett Cup, they had several dark matches that featured local talent, but none of them actually made it to the show. So I do find it interesting that the tag teams that made it to the play-in match to make it to the match isn't even a tag team. And it's just bizarre, especially when they have one and they featured that tag team at the taping. So mine is not to question why, but merely to go. It's idiotic. I'm going to be honest. I don't have much enthusiasm for this year's Crockett Cup. Is it just me? Is it me just being me, or have they not done enough, like you're talking about, to, make me want to come? Is there, put on Silas Mason versus Hammerstone, and I'd probably be there.
For sure.
The only thing that has gotten any buzz on Reddit, is the Towers of Calamity, or whatever the hell they're called.
Titans of Calamity.
Yeah, that thing. That's the only thing that's gotten any kind of buzz at all, and people are overestimating its importance, in my opinion, and its impact. Otherwise, there's nothing at all they're talking about in the Crockett Cup. There's not even a buzz. Not even the slime balls get any love out of this, and they're Reddit favorites.
Yeah, I did see that, and that should be cause for concern. Last year at the Crockett Cup, obviously, I feel like there might have been a little bit of a bait and switch because they advertised heavily Natty Neidhart versus Kenzie Page, and we did get the match live, but it never aired on television, which I still feel is like a very disappointing thing to do to your audience. And had they made it specifically known that match wouldn't have been on TV, I think a lot of people would have. I don't think people would have flown to see the show, but I feel like it kind of hurts the fact that that was a match that a lot of people were looking for. And then last year at the Crockett Cup, they also brought Rhino in for a shot at the World's Heavyweight Championship. Another big move. And this year, there have been very quiet. The big stars, of course, I still feel like the Good Brothers are a big name. And I feel like the Clones also have value. But with not including more draws, I feel like they are counting too much on the Cup to move ticket sales. And I don't know that, Forney got a Crockett Cup. It's kind of similar to WrestleMania this year. They did it back-to-back in Vegas. And I think, that's a mistake. You should never go back to the same city back-to-back because there's too many moving pieces. There's too much, if I did it last year, why would I go this year? And the Crockett Cup was in Forney in 2024. It wasn't that long ago. It's, coming up on 2 years now. I don't feel like there's an overwhelming need to have as a fan, to go to Forney, Texas to see this show. The Good Brothers are a draw for me, but not a big enough draw to get me to fly to Forney, Texas.
Don't forget also last year Crockett Cup had Hammerstone debuting also.
Yeah, no, and last year's Crockett Cup had the Colognes, which I felt like is a positive. It had Natty Neidhart, even though it wasn't televised. It had the you said Hammerstone making his debut. It had Rhino making his in-ring debut for this modern NWA. A lot of cool things, and I don't feel like they have anything gelling for it this time. And I do feel like that's problematic. And maybe it's a sign of the NWA doing their best to kind of cut down on spending. We are in a strange time right now where pro wrestling is hot, but it doesn't mean that there's money going everywhere. WWE is charging an arm and a leg to go see Cody Rhodes and hang out in his bus. But, a lot of wrestling companies are still struggling to just have a decent crowd show up for their live events. So it's not like everyone is benefiting right now from this boom in pro wrestling.
I mean, the likelihood is, if it's the same place where they held their Texas events that are between 500 to 600 people, depending on who you want to believe, they'll probably sell out, or at least be close. But it's just, I have no enthusiasm. There's no other matches announced other than the Crockett Cup. There's no team that I'm just especially, want to see out, not like when the Briscoes were there and you wanted the Briscoes to win, and then they, finally did that here. And they're just, I'm kind of ho-hum about most of the teams, or scratching my head about a couple of them. And I don't know that they've managed to get over that this is a big deal. And I also don't know that I like we're going to film round one here at the TV tapings, and then, we'll do the rest of the cup over here, but we're going to have a play-in match for the 16th seed in the first round. So there's not going. So one of the round one matches isn't. It's just, you're just kind of left going. You're confusing me. You haven't sold me. You haven't sold me anything. What have you sold me other than it's just the Crockett Cup?
And the other side to that I think it's kind of like a case study here. We don't know when these matches are going to air. And the stuff that we're watching right now from Tampa, I believe, is from their February taping, I think. But they did 2 nights, which means it should be about 8 weeks worth of television. I think we've got 2 down and there's 6 more to go. But we're seeing Crockett Cup matches, first round cup matches, that there's going to be a huge gap between what they filmed in February and what, like I said, 8 weeks of television, and then the Crockett Cup itself. And if they don't jump ahead by maybe canning some of those matches to use after the Crockett Cup, we're going to have the Crockett Cup filmed, but it'll be 8 weeks before we see it at least. And then we're going to still have first round matches. And then there'll be a layover where there's, how you can't have all the first round matches before the cup, because you still need to play the wild card. You need to get that match set up to have, either the Texas guys or I think Sins and Grins or the Titans of Calamity, or whoever gets into that first round 16 seed. It's the way that they position themselves. It really feels like there's going to be this gap in the programming, and this is so crazy, and we talk about this all the time. But if you look at United Wrestling Network as a company of similar size and stature to what the NWA is, there's no doubt about it. United Wrestling Network might even be considered a smaller company than the NWA, and yet they're able to turn TV around in about a week. They film on a Tuesday. They got new matches coming out that's following Sunday. And I don't know why the NWA chooses to take 8 weeks to go from a TV taping to releasing content on TV. It baffles my mind.
Well, they used to do that, but
sure,
they kind of. I'm going to go back to the CW deal.
Sure.
They really seem to have effed themselves over there.
Yeah.
That's when they got behind. That's when they stopped doing the pay-per-view and started just having the signature live events be TV tapings. And it's just, and, they just got further and further behind. It's like, they try to make, CW wants to see the things, wants to see the show 4 weeks before the air or something like that. Like, okay, but you're 10 weeks behind. So, why is there an extra 6? It was like, and they've been talking about catching up for a while, and they are not as far behind as they used to be.
No.
But again, like you were talking about, though, when we get to Crockett Cup, I'm not going to watch it all in one night. I'm not going to see it all, at one time. And if they do like they've done in the past, where they have other matches in between the tag team matches, you're just kind of left going, well, what's this purpose? What do you do? How is this different than a taping? How is this different from a TV taping other than you're just calling it something different? And maybe
hopefully the main difference is it's got a crowd that's not dead and doesn't look like a bunch of people that should be out with their lawn flamingos drinking mojitos while yelling at crocodiles to get off their lawn. Alligators.
This week's Power looked like they were paying people to come sit in the crowd. Like, there was zero energy in that audience, except for the little girl that was talking in between matches that you could hear her louder than the announcers. Sorry.
Is it because it's too long?
They do 2 sets of tapings that are at least 4 hours long. Yeah, it's a long day. You're asking a audience and they're paying for that privilege to sit there for that show, and it's going like 8 hours. And I'll speak from experience. Your boy Jay does a lot of the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood tapings. They film at 7 and they're done by like 11 o'clock. And that's a long day of taping. People come from the end of the show to check it out. Come to see that show, come to see that TV taping, and you're expecting them to be as energetic as the opening match as you do as the final match. I just don't think that's realistic.
Well, I remember even when Thrill won the title in, what was it, Long Island somewhere?
Yeah.
And our brother and teammate, Rick was there.
Yeah.
And he said, a lot of people left before that match. And the match was actually pretty short. And part of the reason it's pretty short because by that time you're just like, I don't care. It's kind of like an AEW pay-per-view. You just after what we went to WrestleMania 32, which was like one of the first Vince pay-per-views that lasted way past what you normally thought. I mean, people have rented buses to take them and pick them up at 10 o'clock, and the show wasn't over until after 11. So, they didn't even get to see the end.
Yeah.
They get their bus. And I just remember being there, and just at the end of it, you're so worn out, and you're just so, over it. And my son was with me. I remember telling him, as soon as Roman won the title and he was holding the belts up, I'm like, let's go. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
He's like, there are people standing, and I go, just tell them excuse me, and start going. and we were literally some of the first people out of the building. There was a group of us, but we were some of the first, and luckily we didn't get caught in some of the parking traffic because of it.
Sure.
But it was just like, I'm ready to go. We got home and went to Whataburger to eat.
I'm sorry, Whataburger?
Oh, they were good at that time.
Was there not an In-N-Out nearby?
Not at that time.
I'm so sorry.
We have Smash Bros. I'm sorry, now it's called Burger Run because I think they got sued by Smash Burger. But so we have something really good over here that's a small little company that's going to be a franchise, and you'll hear about it soon, I'm sure. Because they're already selling franchises of them.
Are they really?
Yeah. They just opened up their third, and now they're looking to do franchises. I know Dr. Draconium has negotiated in the past about having a live pro wrestling at one of their grand openings.
We have some comments in the chat. Do we want to continue on this path, or should we read some of the comments before we get to Power? What do you guys want to do?
Read some comments.
Okay, so the first comment is from Patrick Moore. Is IHWE still running?
It still exists.
It still exists. It's on a temporary hiatus, ownership change, and they're looking for new possible ventures. And although nothing is imminent, stay tuned. If there's IHWE news, you'll probably hear it on their socials first, but then probably our socials next. Matthew Underwood says that the NWA fans are loving the bracket. I see some positive in the bracketology here. Like, there's some matchups that I think are going to be very interesting, and there's some kind of surprises to me, and we'll talk about that later during this week's Power recap. But I honestly thought that the hard way were going to advance in the tournament over the Southern Six. If I was betting money on it, I would have put money on Vaughn and McKenzie, and sure as enough, to me that was an upset. Southern Six getting a huge victory, and they haven't had a lot of victories on Power as of late, so that was kind of a surprise to me. But we'll talk more about the Cup in a little bit. Matthew Underwood also said that the Cup should have been in New Orleans this year to celebrate the 40th years of the Cup, and I agree with you. As somebody who likes the history of the NWA, knowing that the Crockett Cup originated in New Orleans some 40 years ago, it would have been very sweet to be back in New Orleans just to say that you were there where it started.
Real quick, Louisiana's a very difficult commission still, even after this year, so that's probably why.
Well, and Matt says, but Wildcat dropped the ball. I don't think that was Wildcat that dropped the ball. I honestly think it was the NWA who dropped the ball.
I know it was the NWA that dropped the ball. I've had the conversations.
We were. I think you had at least one of them with me. We were standing right there, and man, Luke Hawk wasn't in a good mood that night.
Yeah, we talked with Luke that night, but even since then, I've had conversations with people in the know, and it's
Do you care to share any of that tonight, or is that off limits?
Most of it's just Billy is a flake and an airhead, and they go for whatever reason. Like everybody was telling him to put the tag titles on. Hawk's area that night. They go, you'll never get a bigger reaction. It'll never be a better thing. They go, you can change titles at the next show because they'd already been promised to. What was that tag team called?
Mecha Wolf.
Mecha Wolf and 666. Can't remember what the name of the tag team was.
La Rebellion.
Yeah. They go, and he was just like, I don't really think it makes any difference. He goes, I promised to them that's who I want as the champions. And it's just like, dude. And then he would just kind of like wander off and something like that. And they go, you couldn't keep his attention. He doesn't really think. I mean, a lot of the criticisms we leveled at him, but these were people. They go, he doesn't really think things out. They go, he gets this idea, but he doesn't always keep his enthusiasm.
Well, we've seen that. We've seen that a lot with Billy Corgan, where he gets excited about something and then casually will just care about it less and less. I mean, the introduction of Power was such a big deal, and he was very smart to not put himself over on the broadcast, and we didn't see him on the first couple of seasons of Power, but he was there at every taping. He just didn't feel the need to present himself as an important cog in that machine, but down the road he did. He kind of contradicted himself because he said he doesn't need to be on TV, but then for a while there he's in the commentating booth, and now we see as he goes. I mean, if we're going to be ultra critical of Billy Corgan, what happened to Zwan? We don't see any more music from Zwan. He did a whole bunch of self-released albums and then went back to Smashing Pumpkins, and now he's doing a freaking podcast. And I don't feel like, maybe his attention to one thing is not one of his strong suits. It seems like he likes to be busy and occupied. So I don't know that he can just do one thing.
Well, I've also heard that he is Vince Russo-like, in that he just will come up with these ideas and start throwing them out and just think they're going to be the greatest thing or whatever, but there's no one to filter them. And they go, but then like I said, he loses his enthusiasm after a while. He's like, oh, this will be great or whatever and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Or, I think this would be better. It's just, I don't know.
Such a weird way when you think about it, to run a business, right? Like, I'm a business owner, and I don't go from 1 minute saying, oh yeah, we're renting buckets, now we're going to rent hot dogs, and we're going to rent chairs.
Do I have to give the hot dog back? And what form does it have to come back to you?
Hot dogs make hot logs. I don't care if I make myself laugh. All right, more comments, if you will. Patrick says, I know what happened there, Jay Cal, with Natty. WWE blocked them at the last minute. Kyle Davis admitted that. I don't buy that. I think that's bullshit. Okay, there's two ways to approach this. Are you telling me that a company that has television did not get authorization that Natty could be on the TV product? Dude, they didn't shoot the match. I was there. Jaden was there. The cameras weren't filming. I was. Nobody else was. They weren't filming that match. And if the WWE had never intended for them to allow that footage to air, then what's the point of booking it? To pop the crowd? Okay. I hope the extra 40 tickets she sold made up the cost that it charged them to book her. But like, the long-term effects of having her on TV would have been monumental. We had Game Changer Wrestling used her on live streaming and pay-per-views. I don't know why the NWA couldn't feature her on the Roku channel. I think that's a cop-out, and I don't buy it. I don't believe Kyle Davis or Joe Galley or whoever said it, that at the last minute WWE pulled the rug. Either they had the right or they didn't have the right, and they still went with it, and that's dumb. That's dumb business.
Well, I was going to say, here's the thing. If they knew, and I think they did from the beginning, because like you pointed out, they never filmed it, then they just should have said that. They should have said from the beginning, hey, this isn't going to air on TV. Your only chance to see this is to come, see it live.
Yeah.
And everything. But, I don't believe it was like, oh, they were all ready and set. I mean, they've never said anything about it. They've other than that, we kind of got, there was never, we're not able to show you this match because of restrictions or whatever. They just kind of like NWA USA. One day it stopped airing and you never heard anything about it again.
Yep. Matthew Underwood, you said, the evidence is unavailable. I don't know what that means, but please elaborate. While we do that, we'll talk about more things like...
I have a question real quick, Jay.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to see that match, where's the best place that they can see Natty Neidhart take on Kenzie Page for the NWA Women's Championship at the Crockett Cup in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for asking. That is an incredible question. And it's a nice little volleyball for me to spike right here and say the only place to see that match, as far as I know, is youtube.com/The Alliance Blog. We do have a fan cam footage. My fan cam, this phone right here, recorded the entire match in its entirety. I literally uploaded it that night just because I felt like there was something shady going on. So I made sure that the fans who wanted to see it got to see it. And I am glad that I did that, and it's available. youtube.com/The Alliance Blog. It's not associated with the NWA. The NWA did not profit off of that video. And thank you.
Maybe you should put it in the chat and maybe on TikTok, so those who want to see it have an easier access to do so.
You know what? I can do that. I can do that.
Maybe you should also take some highlights from that and occasionally place it on maybe your TikTok page to grant interest.
You know, the thing.
Just brainstorming.
No, and you're right, and like I think you kind of lit a fire under me. So did Soto about trying to get more content out there, and now I'm just going through and editing stuff. So that is very much in the works.
I mean, there's a lot of things out there that you've gotten, like Lil Cholo and Gary Michael Capetta and Cheeseburger and Rakim Boligorsky and
you're doing great.
And why can't I think of Bob Evans' name? Bob Evans?
Brutal Bob Evans, Ninja Mac, yeah. Ariel Van Gogh. If Ariel Van Gogh was in the Northeast, I would almost insist that you book him. But since he's a flight,
I don't book anybody.
Georgia,
I'm just a nobody. I just do all the work, and then some schlock, some. What's a word? The negative word for doctor? Hack.
A quack.
Quack. Some guy who's not Mike Quackenbush gets credit.
You're right, and I kind of meant more of the royal you, as in the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators you.
DK is royalty, not me.
That's fair. Let's get back to some of the comments in the chat, and then we're going to talk about Power, and we'll still talk more about the Crockett Cup. Yes, sir.
Real quick, while DK still is in charge of the royalty website, is El Rey and the Kings of Mexico or whatever they're called a part of that?
Lucha Kings. No, I don't think they are, but they probably should be.
Royalty, right?
We'll work on the negotiations later.
We might have something about the Emperors of Mexico.
Oh. Matthew Underwood said, it's also weird that they never tried to go back to Sarasota when Sarasota lost the SLE a couple of years ago. Did they ever repair that building? Is that venue back in good standing? Because I think the building had some severe damage, and I don't think it was able to be operated in. I don't know. I'm not a native Floridian, so I don't know if that building is in good standing, if it's being used again. But you're right. It is kind of weird that they never went back. But I feel like they're also, hey, they're comfortable at the PBS studio. They're in Tampa. They've got a nice little setup. It's not far from the fans of FTW, which is why I think we get such a strong support for Brian Idol there and Natalia Markova. Not that Markova wouldn't get that reaction anywhere, but definitely Brian Idol benefits from them being in Tampa. Patrick Moore said, I talked to Joe Galley about the tapings. They had issues selling PLEs. Well, yeah, we knew that. We knew that they had issues selling the pay-per-views. That's why they stopped doing the pay-per-views. But the idea of, and this is more of a discussion about what the NWA wants to be and what the NWA really is and what the NWA should be. Because there's three different circles here, and there's some interacting, some overlapping, but at the end of the day, the NWA needs to identify what it wants to be. Because if it's a TV show, then just keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop running in Forney, Texas. Stop running in Philadelphia. Stop running in Dothan, Alabama, and only run in Tampa. You have your TV studios set up there. Just do TV. You're good to go. That should be Power. Power should only happen in Tampa. If you want to do a signature live event that's separate from Power, then that would be good for traveling across the country to doing these live events in live territories. But again, I don't think that's even necessary until the NWA identifies as what it wants to be. Because right now, it acts like a television show. That's it. They don't really tour. They do one show every 2 or 3 months. Maybe they'll do a double header every 2 or 3 months, and then they call it a day. That's not a touring wrestling promotion. That's not the WWE. It's not MLW. It's not TNA. It's not AEW. It's a part-time wrestling promotion. It's not really any different than what United Wrestling Network does. Memphis does their monthly tapings in Memphis. Currently, the United Wrestling Network is filming one episode of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in either Oxnard or Irvine, one episode of Gotham Wrestling in West Nyack, and then the monthly Sunday night Slam tapings happening in Long Beach at the Thunder Studios. they're doing more effectively touring than what the NWA is, and I would even say what they're doing is touring. So
you wouldn't or would?
I would not say what the United Wrestling Network does is touring. They have toured in the past when it was the NWA Pro Wrestling banner. They were doing small arena shows all across the Bible Belt, but I don't think you can call it a touring company at this point. They're studio wrestling. It's a TV show.
Is there a touring company anymore?
It doesn't feel like it. I mean, I would say MLW tours because they don't just do shows in one location. They've done shows in California. House of Glory is doing shows in California. Game Changer Wrestling is doing shows in California. And I'm using those companies for instance because House of Glory and Game Changer are both based in New York and New Jersey, respectively. No, Game Changer, I think, is Philly.
No, Game Changer is definitely New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Lauderdale's from New Jersey.
Okay. So, but they tour, like Game Changer goes all across the country. In fact, they've even done shows out of the country. So, like, I would say they definitely tour. Coastal Championship
Wrestling. Out of the country, can we? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know that for certain. No.
Okay, I have a question. I know, and this is probably more for the people in the chat than even YouTube. But like, I know ROH has gone to studio wrestling, which I've not seen any of the shows. In fact, I don't even know if they started showing the shows from studio wrestling. They've done any taking yet.
I think it's on their the ROH subscription thing.
I mean, probably, but I don't have it, so it's just so. But what I'm wondering is, like, if any of them, if anybody out there have you? I don't know if James is out there, but if any of you are out there, have you checked out ROH and the new thing? Because someone told me that they're supposed to actually, ROH desperate need of refresh. Most of their champions are long-term champions, except for some of the women's ones. Their last 3 tag team champions have all been Sammy Guevara and a partner that gets injured. And
way to call out Dustin Rhodes, brother.
Well, not just Dustin, but whoever his second one. He won the vacant title after Dustin, and then whoever that was got injured too. So he's currently on a 3rd tag team partner as tag team champion. It's just like, I was just wondering, has anyone seen the shows any good or whatever? Because basically my understanding is that's what it is. That's what it's going to be. It's just going to be that studio show. That's where they're going to start putting the titles. That's where they're going to start, and then maybe do 3 or 4 pay-per-views a year. And so I was just curious as to if anybody has seen it or thinks anything of it.
That did bring up something I did think of real quick when you guys are ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I saw a TikTok video of a guy talking about how AEW is trying to bring back territories, and they want to be the first territory promotion in the country since the NWA died. And I found that kind of funny because, the NWA is still around, on life support, but it's still around, and they have territories. So if the consensus of this guy and his fans seem to believe that the AEW is bringing back the territory system, what is everybody's opinion on that? Like, I'm sure right now everybody in the NWA chat listening to us is probably, except for Big Chris Dog, who's probably jumping up and down celebrating. They're all probably crying in their milk right now about that. And I'm sure Brian Idol will soon find out about that video and post a bitching, whining, crybaby post about it too.
Well, first and foremost, let me address something that was said on TikTok because I feel like it's apparent that we need to address. Mike Mayhem says the NWA never dies; it just gets borrowed from time to time, and that's very appropriate. As far as the territory system goes, yes. I mean, look, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling in north of the border has promotions internationally that it partners with. It like Qatar Pro Wrestling, which probably isn't a thing right now, and I think they had another wrestling promotion of the Oceanic Wrestling Alliance or something like that. That was kicked off by Mickey James, and it's supposed to be like an Australian wrestling promotion. But I don't know that they've even ran an event under that banner. And then, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling is partnered with ROH, which is part of this whole AEW thing. And then you look at AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, still many consider that to be the pinnacle of Japanese pro wrestling. CMLL, which many believe to be the pinnacle of pro wrestling in Mexico. Rev Pro, which is one of the biggest independents in the UK. And then AEW, that is kind of an alliance. But the weird thing about that is then you also throw MLW into that mix, which is partnering with CMLL and partnering with New Japan Pro Wrestling, but not the talent from the talent from MLW and the talent from AEW don't really interact very much outside of some one-off bookings. And we don't see any ties from ROH to MLW, but Maple Leaf uses MLW talent. So there is kind of this loose association of all those promotions, but it's kind of hard to call. Go ahead.
Sounds very Alabama to me.
It's a little Alabama for sure. DK, we can see your ear. Now we can see your finger and your glasses and your face.
Now we can see all your face.
I don't need to see your tongue, man. I'm good. But yeah, I mean, Alabama's might be a good rule, but I also feel like it's just there is definitely some sort of association, some sort of an alliance, but I don't know that you can call it a territory, because a territory would mean that there's an identified location where one promotion promotes, but MLW goes all across the United States. Maple Leaf is mostly in Canada. CMLL is in Mexico. Sure. Rev Pro is mostly in the UK. Sure. New Japan is mostly in Japan. Go figure. But, there is some overlap. They've done AEW shows in Mexico. They've done AEW shows in Canada. They've done AEW shows in the UK. So, I don't know if that works as a territory.
Yeah, and the AEW is the main branch of the NWA, the traveling. And then each of the individual territories are the little territory systems, just like the current NWA.
I mean, okay.
You take out MLW, which doesn't count. Sure. You got a territory system. You got defined borders, except for Ring of Honor, but Ring of Honor is just kind of like the special needs little brother of AEW.
It's becoming their developmental. And go ahead.
There's no territory system. There just isn't. There might be. Nobody's jumping in, recognizing the AWA World Championship as their world champion. Supposedly the whole reason the national title was created was so that these promotions could book an AEW title. Well, nothing's stopping them from booking the AEW World title.
They're probably dealing with Tony.
They're loose partnerships. AEW keeps stealing New Japan's talent.
MCML and
there's nothing there. They want to sound bigger, better, badder than they really are, and so it sounds we're going to have territory. No, you don't really have territories. They're not really. You're just working with somebody. You're sharing. Nobody's recognizing here that the AEW is their world championship. In New Japan, it's still going to be the IWGP or IWGP World or whatever they're calling it now, since they seem to change their mind every 10 months. And, CMLL still has their world championships and, all 77 of them, I think. And it's Tony Khan gobbledygook.
He's Hector Guerrero?
I didn't say gobbledygook. I said gobbledygook.
That seems like a very racist statement. We've been hanging around Jay too much.
What did I do?
You've been a bad influence on me, Jay.
Yes.
But in this particular case, I mean gobbledygook in the term of just nonsense.
He keeps going back to it too. You notice that? Like you said, hey, that might not be a good word to say. He's like, I'll say it 3 more times.
You bet I will, because there's nothing wrong with it.
He wouldn't put the ER on there because he didn't want the hard R on the end.
Oh my god. Oh my god. All right, let's move on. Let's move on.
I'm gonna put 3 R's.
Like power. So, I was going to say before this, let's talk about the Crack Cup, but honestly, we don't even know the brackets. Like, right? Do we?
Actually,
I
have some of the bracketology. I did take some notes here. So, the way I don't have it to show on screen. So, for those of you at home, please take your notes. Go ahead, drop your 16-round bracket, and I'll tell you where to slate your teams. We've got Kratos and Odinson, who is seeded number 1. Number 16 is the wild card, to be determined. We don't know who that team will be just yet.
Thom Latimer and Royce Isaacs.
No. Number 9, you have Thom Latimer teaming with El Dragon Nihan. They take on the number 18, which is the Drakes, Carson Bartholomew and Lockjaw.
God, I hope they get squashed by Latimer and then have him push El Dragon down on top of him and just powerbomb him into oblivion. I'd pay. You know what? I'd go to 40 to see that if I knew it was going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. Then we have the next round is the Southern Six, who are number 5 seeding, taking on the Chicago Tag Team Champions, the Hardway, who are your number 12 seeding. Of course, Southern Six won that match. We'll talk more about that as we get into this week's Power. Then you have Pretty Boy Smooth and Hayden Backlund against the Wrestling Machines. That was your 13th seed and your number 4 seed, with your number 4 seed advancing the Wrestling Machines. We had the Colognes, who are the number 3 seed, take on the number 14 seed, Red, White, and Jack. The Colognes will be a part of the second round of the Crockett Cup. Then the next match is number 11 seed Trevor Murdoch and Tyler Frank, I believe, taking on the Country Gentlemen, who is your 6 seed team. And then your 7 seed team is the Pope and Mims, taking on your number 10 seed, the Slime Balls. And then we already saw the number 2 seed take on the number 15 seed, which was the Good Brothers taking on Zion and Bones, with the Good Brothers winning. So we have 4 teams who have already advanced, with the rest of the tournament matches still to be determined.
Cool. I really can't talk much about it, though, because we don't know what's going on.
No, and I mean, again, we had Pollo Del Mar on the show a couple months ago, and Pollo made the point to say, like, look, it's a television show. Do you get all caught up on the gossip and rumors of the filming of your favorite TV show? And I said, yeah, actually I do. Like, if I hear that, if I hear that, I forgot the actress's name. The one that played the Bee in Apartment 23. When I found out that she is going to be on this season's of Daredevil, I got excited because that means we're going to have Jessica Jones. So it did kind of spoil that when I watched Daredevil, I'm going to see Jessica Jones at some point. But I still want to see Jessica Jones on TV. I still want to see that story unfold. So knowing what's going to happen, or knowing that where things are placed, it doesn't change my level of enjoyment for the program. However, the NWA thinks like, well, we don't need to give you this information because it will play out on TV, which is okay. But again, that just means that further proves my point that the NWA is not a touring wrestling promotion. It's not a full-time wrestling promotion. It's a TV show. They treat it as a TV show. They film their season and then wait to release it. And once it gets released, we watch it like we would any other TV show.
Just because it's the 8th season of Game of Thrones doesn't mean that we still don't going to watch it.
I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. So, yeah, I mean, look, there should be a card. if you're a touring wrestling company, you know, card is always subject to change. You don't have to give us the details, but you should say, we have these tournament matches lined up. We have these matches that are to be determined. The world champion will defend against this person. The tag team or the Intercontinental. The national champion will be defended here, or the national title will not be defended because the wrestling machines are in the tournament. That I don't care, but just give me an idea. Because if I was going to Forney, Texas, and you didn't even have a card for me, I don't know if I'd want to go.
Which part of the reason, not all of it, but part of the reason neither of you were going.
Yeah, well, like, look, if they, and I think you said it, DKM, if they had told us that Hammerstone was taking on Silas Mason for the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Championship, that would have been a more driving force for me wanting to go. Now, if that match happens, and if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, is it a draw? I don't know, man. You're not advertising the card, so how is that supposed to be a draw?
I'm going to go on the record to say the finals are going to be the Slime Balls versus the Wrestling Machines.
I don't know if that could actually happen. By the way, actually, it can happen. By the way, talking to my contacts over at the United Wrestling Network, I think that the Slime Balls defended the U.S. tag titles on Gotham Wrestling. I think. Not 100% sure.
Cool.
Anyways. So getting back to this interesting lineup of the Crockett Cup. Again, we don't know who Markova is going to wrestle. More than likely, if we're going to make assumptions based on what we've seen so far, I think it's Tiffany Nieves. I think Nieves challenges for the world title. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I know that Nieves has not had 7 victories or 7 successful title defenses on Power. So maybe they have some more matches for Tiffany Nieves over the next few weeks. We know next week she'll be involved in the tag team title match. So I don't know how they're going to squeeze all that in before now. And
she's been champion for over a year.
She's had
this route.
Well, she's also had the tag titles 3 or 4 times in that period of time, or challenged for the tag titles 3 or 4 times. Like, let's look at that for just a second, because I think that's interesting. So Tiffany Nieves has had multiple. She's been champion for over a year, but in that time, she's also been the women's tag team champion 2 times with Valentina Rossi, which means they also lost those titles 2 times. And
stripped once, right?
Huh?
Stripped once.
Yeah. So she won the title by defeating Rossi, and Nieves defeated Mama and Paige to win the tag titles at Hard Times 4 back in Dothan in 2025, in March of 25. Then they defended the titles against the Island Twins at the Crockett Cup. Then they defended the titles against Clara Carter and Serena Vale at a Power taping. And then the titles were, I guess, stripped from them because Tiffany Nieves could not make a title defense.
Tiffany.
I'm sorry, Valentina Rossi, who was in Japan at the time. So then they wrestled for the titles, but then the match was just the titles were held up. Yep, that match was thrown out. So then they beat Allison Kay and Marty Bell to win the tag titles, only for the next set of tapings to lose to Allison Kay and Marty Bell for those tag titles. And then that was the end of the tag team. So they've been having her do double duty as both champions and hasn't really...
You said duty.
Rick Del Santo said hi to us. He's checking us out on TikTok.
Hi, Rick. How you doing? Did you watch a Gary Michael Capetta interview that Jay did on the Alliance Blog podcast, available on this channel and on Spotify?
Yo, Rick.
I think Rick said he'll be back on the panel in about 5 more weeks when his school gets out. So we're very much looking forward to that. You too?
I'll be done. I have my last final on May 1st, and then I have a wrestling event on May 2nd.
Why do you do that to yourself?
If I had a logical answer, I probably wouldn't do it.
By the way, when you said Slime Balls versus the Wrestling Machines, friend of the show, Double D, former host, Double D's been a part of the panel. He said, "Hi, yes, Jaden, slime balls rule."
I ain't saying that. I'm just saying that I think it's going to be the final.
All right. So that's enough dilly-dally. Should we talk about Power for the next half hour?
Yes, that rhymed, and let's see how much we can get through in how little time.
You got it. All right, so this week is called Party People, the season 26, episode 14. This episode kind of hovered around the premise that Tiffany Nieves was having a birthday party, and that Dr. Vic was going to be hosting said birthday party. This was again, these skits are killing me, man, and I don't know who Billy's writing this for. And if I give Billy credit for when the show's good, I have to give him shit when it sucks. And these skits just suck. There's no positive way to spin it. There's nothing promising about it. They just fucking suck.
We've been saying that for some time now.
And you remember when they first happened, I said I could see what they're trying to do, and maybe they just need a little bit of editing and maybe just a little bit of pizzazz. No, man. It just fucking sucks.
What was the first match?
The first match, we get the 13th seed, Pretty Boy Smooth and Hayden Backlund versus number 4 seed, the Federation of Champions, the Wrestling Machines. Now, on paper, this match looked like, I don't know, I kind of thought it'd be a squash because there's so much momentum riding with Mondo and Slade. Of course, Slade being on the Alliance blog podcast earlier this year, celebrating his World Junior Heavyweight Championship run. But him and Mondo had a great run at the last year's Crockett Cup. The chemistry between them is very, very good. Watching them wrestle is kind of like watching a version of the Steiner brothers, and I enjoy it. I think they're very talented, but the chemistry that they have in the ring is very good too. So when you watch them wrestle, their styles complement each other. They're both in excellent shape. Both of them have a pedigree in mat wrestling, and when you see them in the ring, like it just works. My first thoughts on watching Hayden Backlund. I never had knowingly watched a Hayden Backlund match before. I guess he's been a part of Exodus Pro for quite some time. My first instinct is this guy's pretty good, and I would like to see more of him, especially on this NWA roster. He has the chops that make sense for the NWA, maybe even the junior heavyweight division, but certainly he could be another body, a good body, a serviceable body in the ring.
Good bodies versus the good brothers.
Yeah, there you go. But as I looked more into Hayden's background, of course, he's very athletic in the ring. He has competed on 13 of the 20 Exodus Pro events. So he is 100% a byproduct of the relationship that the NWA had with Exodus Pro, and seeing that how good of a wrestler he is. And I know how much Carson Drake means to a lot of the NWA fans, and I know how much the Slime Balls mean to a lot of NWA fans. And I believe Tiffany Nieves was discovered for the NWA through Exodus Pro. That we know that Marty Bell is currently the Exodus Pro Women's Champion. Pretty Boy Smooth is a direct responsibility from directly a product from Exodus Pro. And guys like Dante Casanova, who we saw a lot of potential in, and Christian Argento, who maybe more comic relief than wrestling. Like all of these talents were a product of Exodus Pro. And so as I'm watching the beginning of this match, I realized I think the departure of EC3 and Exodus Pro is going to hurt the NWA a lot more than people thought it would. It's definitely there's, we look at talent from Crossfire, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but yes, Kenzie and Kylie Page are phenomenal athletes. Hunter is all right. No. JAC is kind of like a Joe Cazana guy. And then, some of the other guys on the roster that we've seen, from Cazana. And look, nobody was producing more top-tier talent for the NWA than Exodus Pro. So I really feel like this is going to have that lingering effect. And he has teamed with Pretty Boy Smooth once before, but it was in Canada. They actually teamed with Taylor Rising in a 3-way or triple threat match. No, a 6-person tag team match. And they've been opponents like 5 times through the NWA Exodus Pro or just other promotions associated with Pretty Boy Smooth. So these two know each other fairly well. And honestly, I was surprised about the level of teamwork that they had. They did a couple of co-op moves where Pretty Boy Smooth would pick up Hayden and throw him at his opponent. But ultimately, like, this was a tale of two cities. When PB Smooth was in the match, he was treated like a giant. He was treated like a genuine threat. And it took a lot for the wrestling machines to gain any kind of control when Pretty Boy Smooth was in the match. And although Backlund seems like a wrestling machine in there, he kind of fits exactly with Slade and Mondo. He was the one that was eating most of the offense from those two guys. It was a good match, and I enjoyed it, but it just, obviously the team with more experience won here, and that's probably for the best. I thought it was a good match, and I'm kind of excited to see what Jaden and DKM thought. Jaden, what did you think of this match?
I think it's the best I've seen Pretty Boy Smooth look in the NWA. And I did watch one or two of the Exodus Pros, so I think it's the best I've seen Pretty Boy Smooth look at all. I thought the match was fine. I liked it. It was what it was. They made Pretty Boy Smooth look larger than life, and because he is like 6'10" and built like a shed, and you could park a Buick on his forehead. But yeah, I think it's the best he's looked, and if he can continue on this, they might have a star out of him. And Mondo just looks great, and Slade looks great. I don't like his back. I don't like his weird figure 4 finish, though. That's the only thing I don't like.
Yeah, I saw it too, and it doesn't look effective. And maybe it is, and I haven't tried wrestling moves on anybody in quite some time, but it didn't look like an effective wrestling move. DKM, what did you think of this match?
Well, I mostly enjoyed it. I enjoyed some of Backlund. I like Slade a lot, like Mondo a lot. I still didn't care as much for Peanut Butter. Right team won.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like most of the things involving Crockett Cup, I don't know that I was overly enthusiastic either direction.
I will make sure to take this opportunity to mention I told you so when it came to both Mondo and Slade. To anybody who wanted to listen.
You didn't have to sell me on Slade, but I was reluctant to buy on Mondo, and he certainly has changed my opinion. So I say you were right on Mondo, but I think I was good with Slade. I thought like that he was in the wrong group. He shouldn't have been with Rolando.
Oh, yeah.
He needed to be treated like a serious threat once they gave him a serious manager. I mean, I get it. Stevens is kind of a joke anyways, but they treat him like a big deal, and he looks like a big deal. When you treated him like a joke, he still looked like a big deal, just not with the right optics.
Well, it was hard to get over when you're in a ladder match with a midget.
Yeah, well, look, the NWA does a lot of things that I don't think any of us think are smart booking decisions. Next up, we get the promo in the back with the Federation of Champions, which is the whole collective of the Aaron Stevens family. It starts off with Mondo saying, what we say we'll do is what we do. And they're talking about how dominant they were and how they went out there and showed Pretty Boy Smooth and Hayden Backlund like they are the tag team they say they are. Aaron Stevens is like, I've got 2 really solid teams in the Crockett Cup. And then this is where things get kind of funny because the slime balls are there and like, well, what about us? We're in the cup. And again, Stevens is always distancing himself from the U.S. Tag Champions and saying, no, you guys aren't a part of this. You're only here financially. And then the slime balls say, but Carson pays us. And then in that moment, I take a second and think about it. The Carson Drake consortium of wrestlers, there's technically 4 teams in that universe that are in this Crockett Cup because Carson Drake's best friends are the Hard Way. He said that. Then Carson Drake is teaming with his cousin Lockjaw. So there's 2 teams. And then you've got the Slime Balls, and then you've got the the wrestling machine. So in my estimation, there's like 4 Carson Drake teams that are in this cup. But I digress. They also say that the tournament, Carson Drake's like, look, here's a spoiler alert, the finals are going to be the Drakes versus the wrestling machines. But scientifically, that can't happen. The brackets are set up in such that at best they can reach the semifinals if the Drakes are able to get past the Immortals, and if the machines can get past the Southern Six, and if the Country Gentlemen, well, this match is kind of inconsequential, if the Slime Balls could get past the Good Brothers, and if the Slime Balls get past the winners of the Country Gentlemen or the Colognes, they could find themselves into the finals. But at best, the Drakes and the Machines could only be the semifinals. So I see your phone, DK.
How's he taking a picture of his phone with his phone? That's totally Inception.
Dude, spin the dice. Spin it right now. Spin the top. Spin it. So that was that promo. Getting on, next up we have the non-title match between Hera and Markova. This match was dominated early on by Hera, but I got to be honest, I'm not impressed by her. I know that she's a former WLW Women's Champion, and I'm not seeing a lot out of her. Now, I've heard that in WLW she was presented differently. Here she's kind of like a female version of Kane, but not nearly as entertaining, and just really has...
Keep her away from James Mitchell.
Yeah, I just don't feel like...
Oh, wait, wrong kind of Kane.
Oh. I don't feel like this is... the way that she's being produced, the way that she's being presented, she's not good enough to be in this position. You're talking about how she's undefeated and she's a submission machine and all this and that, and I don't really see it. I see her having trouble just taking, running the ropes a little bit. The whole time she's messing with her gloves, and at first I thought that was her doing like a homage to Kane, but later in the match she just pulls the glove off because she can't get it on her hand right. I feel like I'm just not impressed with Hera, and maybe she needs to go back to like Sparks, whatever her name was, because this is just not it. And Markova wins the match with a beautiful disaster, but Markova did take a lot of Hera's offense. It just was an awkward offense, and also, which I feel like might be problematic too, is Markova didn't sell for Hera very much. There were times where Hera was striking her and Markova was smiling and begging for more, and it's like, well, wait a minute now. This is supposed to be your hot thing now, your prospect from WLW. This is supposed to be like the submission master, and she's just getting no-sold by the world champion. And I get that. I get it. You want Markova to look strong, but I don't feel like this was the best way to make Markova look good at Hera's expense. And if she's not ready for that kind of a matchup, then she shouldn't be in that kind of a matchup. DK, what did you think of Hera versus Markova?
I didn't like it.
You didn't watch it?
I didn't like it.
Oh, okay. You didn't like it.
I don't like Hera. I don't think she's that good. It wasn't Markova's finest performance. I kind of wish I had fast-forwarded through it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Noob. Beautiful Destruction. I think I said Beautiful Disaster. That is a 311 song. My apologies. Jaden, what did you think of this one?
I thought it was Hera's best match, but that doesn't really say much. It was better than I thought it was going to be, but I really had very low expectations. I also like Markova's new hairstyle / coloring. I actually think it fits her better. It accentuates her facial features better and the lighting better and everything for her. So I do think that's also pretty something that it was a positive in this match. I'm pulling for straws on this one, honestly. I mean, the right person won, and hopefully that's the end of the Hera experiment. Next.
Yeah, and just going back to it, I don't put any of the blame on the negative part of the match on Markova. I think she's really talented, and you're right. She looks probably better now than she's ever looked, but this match just wasn't good, and I put it on Hera. She needs to be better in the ring. If she's going to be in these kind of situations, she needs to be better. Next up, we get the backstage with TVMA. It's their promo where Tiffany Nieves says Markova is giving title shots to losers. And again, like whoever's formatting the show, maybe get this promo in after Markova announces she's going to defend the title against somebody else that's not Tiffany Nieves, because this looks like Tiffany Nieves got the inside scoop and that we're hearing it after the fact. It just didn't. The pacing of the show matters, and stuff like this just kind of makes it look more amateur hour. Like, did you film this out of order? I mean, what's going on here? It didn't flow with the way the show was presenting itself. And it's, again, promos like this that promo should probably have opened up next week's Power. Tiffany Nieves could have been like, oh, hey, last week, Markova had a dud of a match, and then she's given a title match to somebody else. What about me? But that's okay. I'm going to win the tag titles this week. Like, I don't know. I feel like the pacing of the show doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes. This is one of those times. Did you guys watch any one of these? The promos? Either one of you?
Yeah.
Yes, no?
No from me.
No.
Niet.
Yet.
Next up, we have the Southern Six, who are seated number 5, taking on the Hard Way, seated number 12, and with Thrillbilly, Silas Mason on commentary. Dalton McKenzie's a stud. I'm ready to invest in that guy. If they break up the Hard Way, I want Dalton McKenzie part of the Federation of Champions. That dude they called him the Juice. That dude looks big. He's built big. And I very much enjoy what I'm seeing out of Dalton McKenzie. And that's not to take away from Jack Vaughn at all, but Dalton McKenzie's my kind of a wrestler. I like it a lot. And he's out there just victimizing both Kerry Morton and Alex Taylor. Now these are two guys that 2 years ago won the Crockett Cup. And they're getting tossed around the ring by Dalton McKenzie like rag dolls. And as they should be. They're junior heavyweights. Kerry Morton said he wants to be a heavyweight wrestler. On commentary, they call Kerry Morton 226 pounds. And then Kerry gets on X and says, I'm only 207 pounds. Brother, work the weight, man. Come on. You want to be a heavyweight, you can't go around telling people you're only 207 pounds. Most of this match was, Taylor and Morton kind of getting their asses kicked by, Vaughn and then McKenzie, and then Vaughn and then McKenzie. However, there was a point in the match where Vaughn goes for a kick and he misses, gets hung up in the ropes. That little bit of time was able to be exploited. Taylor and Morton were able to capitalize that for just a short while. But it didn't last very long. Their offense was short-lived. And then JV, Jack Vaughn, connects with a double DDT, gets a hot tag to McKenzie. McKenzie's throwing people around again, is dominating these two Southern Six boys. But the tag is made. We get Jack Vaughn back in the ring. And somehow, some way, Taylor and Morton win the match with their 6 speed. They stole this one. They stole this victory. I really thought the Hard Way were going to win here. But it was a good match and probably the best I've seen Taylor and Morton look in the ring in a long time. They did a lot of bumping for the Hard Way, and I'm sure they're not going to go far into the cup, but it was kind of cool to see them get this victory. So we'll start with you, Jaden. What did you think of this match?
This was my favorite match on this TV taping so far, which means last week's and this week. I enjoyed this match. I thought it was really good. I thought it was the best Taylor and Morton have looked in a while, especially as a tag team. They look better singles than they have recently as a tag team. And I think it's smart to have, even though I wanted Vaughn and Dalton to go further, I think it's smart to have the Southern Six, the former Crockett Cup winners, go further. So now when whoever beats them has a little bit of bragging rights. What about you, DK?
No, I disagree 100%. I thought the wrong team won. I thought it was just as well to get Southern Six out of early. And I thought that would have done more to build the Hard Way. Who I actually think is a better team, by the way. And, the match was fine for what it was. Disagreed with the result.
Well, this match will basically between this one and the next the earlier match. Now we know that in the next round, that's going to be the Southern Six taking on the Wrestling Machines in that second round, which I think we all know who's going to walk away from that one.
You're not interested in seeing Kerry Morton get thrown around by Mondo and Slade, DK?
That's the only thing that makes up for it. But if you'd asked me as a wrestling fan, what wrestling match would you rather see? I'd rather see Wrestling Machines and the Hard Way in a match than I would either one of those teams versus Southern Six.
You know it. It's hard to argue against that. I think I would have rather seen McKenzie and Vaughn versus Mondo and Slade. I think that would have been a real good matchup. You know, of course, I think the size would probably go to the Hard Way, but the speed would be Mondo and Slade. So, and you know, in terms of power, they all four of those guys are pretty big dudes. So that would have been an interesting matchup. Maybe DK's right on this one. Maybe we missed out on that.
Yeah, but again, it doesn't make sense yet because the Hard Way are part of that on the peripheral of that faction.
Well, yeah. See, to me, that would have made it more interesting because there's Carson Drake's friends and there's Aaron Stevens' group, and they're like together but not, kind of like with the Slime Balls.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just an interesting dynamic, and I think that could have played into that dynamic.
Sure, you're trying to encourage heel versus heel teams for Billy Corgan. Way to go, guys.
Well, I don't know. See, I don't even think the Hard Way is a heel, but
Southern Six are heels though too, so it's like that one doesn't stand out. Southern Six are heels.
No,
yeah, I didn't say it was good booking. I just said he's trying to encourage more of it.
I didn't say that the Southern Six weren't heels. I said I don't even think of the Hard Way as being heels.
Sure.
What was the next match?
That brings us to Markova's promo where, yeah, she looked great. Promo was good. I don't like the idea that she's the ambassador of the NWA women's division. You're just the champion. That's all there is to it. You saw a wrong, and you're going to right it because you think that Livia deserved better than what she got. So you're going to give her an opportunity against you to test her mettle, and if she can win, she's going to win the title. So I didn't like the promo, but it's not how she said it. It's what she said. I feel like it should be more like, hey, you're getting this match because I think that you're a good talent and I want to see what you can do. Not like, oh, I don't like the way that you were treated by Tiffany Nieves, so I'm going to give you a shot, make a better first impression. I don't like that. But we're going to see Livia versus Markova in a title match next week on Power. And I think it's going to be a good match, although I think we all know that Tiffany Nieves and Greta will get involved, so it's not going to be a great matchup, but I still think it'll be pretty good. Did either of you guys watch that? Anything you want to add?
I actually skipped it this week. I didn't mean to, but I guess I cut over it without trying to get away from other stuff.
Sure. Which the next segment definitely should have skipped this. It's Tiffany's birthday party. Straight out, Carson implies Dr. Vic is a cuck. And again, who's the audience here? I'm not asking for this kind of behavior on my wrestling. I don't need the wrestlers to be dating. I don't need the romance involved. Like, keep the soap opera shit to soap operas and give me some real wrestling. This is stupid. And Dr. Vic is a very unlikable character. Tiffany Nieves does not come off as any more likable. She's exactly who we think she is in the promos, but now we got Dr. Vic fawning over her, and it's just like, come on, man, this is stupid. If I wanted to see a doctor fall in love, I'd go watch Scrubs. I don't need this shit. I want wrestling. Give me wrestling. And Tiffany Nieves gets mad at Dr. Vic because the party is not up to her expectations. Then we get the Reign of Terror with Daisy Kill. In the ring with Kyle Davis, it's Daisy Kill. I really thought that this Reign of Terror might lead to something big for Daisy Kill. I almost thought because of the similar way that he was getting a lot of TV time, very similar to the way that Carson Drake was getting a lot of TV time, the same way that Brian Idol was getting a lot of TV time. I thought, hey, they are showing their hand here. We are going to get a Daisy Kill TV championship run. That's not what we got here. We got a recanting of the tales of the failed efforts of the Reign of Terror, and then we get a straight up little person versus normal sized person match. We get Daisy Kill in the ring with Eric Smalls. And not only do we get Eric Smalls, but we get a victory for Eric Smalls, because while Daisy Kill is busy taking off his belt and trying to, I guess, hit Smalls with that title, it gives just enough, a long enough distraction to the referee where Smalls can punch Daisy Kill right in the testicles. Not a good match. Not a good look for the NWA. And now, as our good friend DK would say, go learn another move, Daisy. Go, just disappear. Go away for a while, because I don't know how you could come back from that. DK?
Yeah, how am I supposed to take him serious now?
I can't.
I mean, it's twice. Twice we let Eric Smalls, who should, I'm sorry at this point, not be involved at all. And so, I don't know if he's a plaything of Billy's or what the deal is here, but he needs to go away and not learn a new hold. He just needs to go away.
Go away. Come back with a mask.
Daisy needs to go away and hope people forget.
Yeah.
And then come back in 6 months or a year or something like that. Well, I mean, really, what is that? 2 tapings or something?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's about right. So during that match, before the match started, we also had another little segment with the Dr. Vic party. And at this one was a little, again, hinting at the promiscuity of Tiffany Nieves. Like, they didn't come out and say it, but you had her and the world's heavyweight champion, Thrillbilly Silas Mason, coming out of a closed door room. So one only could speculate what was happening there. And during this point in the party, Dr. Vic's talking about he has a big moment planned for himself and Tiffany, and hints that he's implying that he will propose to Tiffany Nieves. And I'm just thinking, why are we doing this, man? Like, what's going on here? You're making, honestly, Thrillbilly Silas Mason doesn't need to be that kind of a wrestler, that kind of a champion. Maybe that's the storyline, and I don't, whatever. But it just, it doesn't fit in with who he was in the past. It's not like he's been a ladies' man this entire time. So this whole him and Tiffany thing, I don't know what's going on there, but it just seems a little forced and a little weird. And then that gets us back to the locker room with, now we have the Hex. And the Hex is supposed to be having a tag team match next week, as previously reported by Tiffany Nieves and Samantha Starr, that next week TVMA will get a shot at the women's tag team champions. And the Hex call Greta, they call Greta the Threada, and then call her basically the Green Jolly Giant, which was awesome, because now they're even breaking like kayfabing, literally calling her green. And I thought that was amazing. And Allison Kay said that they're going to hit her with a can of her own peas, which this just made me laugh. It was actually a really clever promo from the Hex. I like Allison Kay and Marty Bell as the tag team champions. I hope that they continue to be used in this role. And I hope they bring in some decent tag team. I want to hear Jay's fantasy booking for Allison Kay if she never left the NWA. We could do a whole story about that. I really think Allison Kay dropped the ball on her. They rushed her into a feud with Thunder Rosa to put the belt on Thunder Rosa. But I think Allison Kay could have been a real dominant force for the NWA pre and post Thunder Rosa. Anyways, you guys didn't watch this segment, so you didn't miss much. We go back to the Tiffany party. She declares her desire to become women's champion. Then Dr. Vic proposes, and immediately Carson Drake starts laughing. Aaron Stevens is going, no, 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 no. And, the fact that she had just walked out of the room with Silas Mason made it very kind of comical. They implied that he was a cuck. She just apparently had some sort of relations with Silas Mason, if we're just kind of guessing what we're seeing on TV. And Tiffany shot him down, said, nope, you're not man enough for me. And I'm hoping this is the end of it. I'm hoping this is the nail in the coffin. Let's get back to Zion. Let's get back to the Ascension. Let's do anything with Dr. Vic besides this, because this ain't working for me, bro. Any final thoughts on Dr. Vic?
Girl boy.
Noob says the Dr. Vic segments are getting uncomfortable and weird. Double D says Dr. Vic is weird. And you guys aren't wrong. It's pretty terrible. And I don't understand why we keep getting it, but evidently we're gluttons for punishment, and the NWA is our abusive masters. Now we get the main event, a number one contenders match for the Women's Championship. Double D did not know that Dr. Vic was Zion. You didn't know that? Sorry. Spoiler alert. We get Serena Vale versus Kenzie Page, and Serena's entrance, I'm sure, was the thing that Jaden loves. The interesting thing they pointed out in this match from the announcers is that Kenzie still has yet to get a rematch at the Women's World Championship. She has not challenged Markova or any title, any champion at this moment in the NWA. So that was kind of a weird throwaway line, because it implied that she's trying to wrestle for the number one contender spot, but she should have in her back pocket a rematch clause against Markova. So that was kind of a weird. They were billing this as a number one contenders match, but it should have just been a regular match. So that was a little just kind of curious way to book that match. Anyways, Chris Henry. No, that's a guy's name, Tommy Henry. Tommy Henry is accompanying Kenzie to the ring. It's the second time we've seen him come out with his daughters after never seeing him come out as their manager before. Now all of a sudden he's taking an active role, being on TV, whatever. There's a young female fan that gives Kenzie a drawing, a gift, and Kenzie gives her a lot of attention, and it was kind of a nice little moment. It's weird because Kenzie is positioned as a heel in the company, but she gets cheered in Tampa and she acts like a baby face in Tampa, so it's kind of hard to hold up and keep up with it. But the announcers put over her past accomplishments. They even called Kenzie the Grand Slam champion because of her victory at the Burke Invitational. She has won that, so they counted that as the fourth part of the Grand Slam, I guess.
Not doing it anymore.
What's that?
Even though they're not doing it anymore.
I don't know that.
They didn't do it last year.
Oh yeah, you're probably right. Maybe they'll bring it back for the anniversary show this year. That the matchup was actually looking really good. At first, we got a lot of back and forth offense between Serena Vale and Kenzie Page. Both of these ladies are young. Kenzie Page I don't even think she's 23 yet. Maybe she's just turned 23. I don't even think Serena Vale is old enough to drink. She's a young wrestler as well. They've had their series of matches in Crossfire. This has been a feud that's been happening in Crossfire. And I kind of wish they would bring some of that footage to the NWA to show on Power. This is where you could really incorporate the territory system into what's happening on Power and kind of bring in a cohesive hey, if you go to a territory show, you're going to see NWA wrestling, and this is the kind of wrestling you're going to see, and here we're going to present this kind of a match here on Power. They don't do that, and I don't know why there's a disconnect. But Vale looked really good in the match. Like I said, they were going back and forth, and then Serena Vale botched a move, and it kind of, for me, just threw me out of the match. She was going to do some sort of handstand thing in the corner, and it fell all the way apart. They didn't let the botch slow down the pace of the match, because as soon as she got back up on her feet, she took control of the match. And that was kind of weird, because I'm assuming if she would have connected with the move, it would have made sense, at least the movement in the ring. But all of a sudden now she's just in control without really any movement that would have warranted that. Anyways, the match was pretty good back and forth. And then at one point, Kenzie nearly had a wardrobe malfunction, and I'm so glad she caught it, because her shirt kept riding up. And, I don't think the NWA would want any kind of Janet Jackson stuff happening on air. Basically, the match gets thrown out once Serena Vale has like an arm breaker, cross arm breaker on Kenzie. Kenzie's in the ropes. Serena Vale refuses to let go of the hold. Tommy Henry gets in the ring, and of course, Hollywood Haley J runs in unexpectedly and power slaps Tommy Henry, knocking him out. And then he covers up his baby girl there in the ring to make sure that she doesn't take any more offense. The ending of the match was kind of weird, and it definitely sets up a Serena Vale teaming with Haley J against the Page sisters. But that's kind of weird, because they had been putting Vipress with Serena Vale, and that seemed like a decent tag team that they were working at. So all of this is just the weird booking, but the match itself was pretty good. Jaden, what did you think of this one?
I didn't watch a lot of it, unfortunately, at the time that was on. I caught her doing the upside down aerial Shelly Martinez thing, hanging upside down the rope. But honestly, the match itself, it was on, but I was doing other stuff, so I didn't really get a chance to pay attention, because I was trying to get ready for school.
Gotcha. DK, did you see this one?
It was sloppy.
Okay.
I didn't like the ending. And
I do like the thought of Tommy Henry getting power slapped.
Well, that's one of those mixed things. Watching him get power slapped was good. I think he needs to go back to wherever he came from. But the whole power slap thing I hate, so it's just,
You're telling me if there was a pay-per-view of her just power slapping people we don't like Carson Drake and Tyler Frank and Billy Corgan, you wouldn't actually be the highest rated Power episode?
Wow. Might be. But I still don't like the gimmick just in general. I don't like Power Slap as a competition.
Blame Russia.
I always blame. Well, no, I typically blame the Germans. So I blame Germany.
I'm not very proud of you, comrade. You brought in the Power Slap. Bad job, comrade.
All right. Well, that was this week's Power. Next week, we're scheduled to get a Women's World Title match. We're supposed to get the Women's World Tag Team titles on the line. And again, if I were producing this NWA Power, I think I would have reserved the first round Crockett Cup matches until later in the season, so that it would have flowed naturally into the signature live event Crockett Cup, as opposed to having these first round matches weeks and weeks before we get to the Crockett Cup. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But by and large, I kind of give this one maybe like a C+. There was some good wrestling, but the promos themselves really brought the show down. The whole Dr. Vic saga hopefully comes to conclusion now. Let's just get back to wrestling. It's hurting the product. The skits are hurting the product. It's hurting the credibility of the talent in the ring. Tiffany Nieves could be smug and uptight and everything else in a backstage promo. I don't need her at somebody's hotel party passing on getting married to somebody. It just didn't do it for me, dog. DK,
Don't blame Dr. Zirconium or the wrestling company, right? Their fault.
Shit. DK, any final thoughts on this week's episode?
Yeah, it didn't do much for me. I mean, I didn't hate it like you do some episodes, but it was more like, yeah, they're typical crap.
Yeah. And then, Jaden, do you have any final words?
I stopped watching. I fast forwarded as soon as I saw Daisy kill and the midget. So I went all the way until I saw Serena Vale come out, and then I didn't even get a chance to watch that. So I liked a little bit that I saw in the beginning. Like the first match was okay, and the second match I liked the tag match with Vaughn and his partner versus the Wrestling Machines, and that's it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for Power. Of course, there is, we talked about Crockett Cup is this weekend. If you guys are in Forney, Texas, and you're at the event, please shoot us results. We would like to post them at the alliance-wrestling.com. Slide into those DMs anywhere at the Alliance blog. It will give you full credit and make sure that you get recognized for your bravery and excellence by sharing the news and information for the NWA. But there's also another big event in South Jersey happening on April the 4th. And without any further ado, Mr. Jaden, can you tell us what's going to happen at the
Nope, we're going to go to the NWA and just tell you there's going to be matches. No, right. Honestly, though, the card is not really set. I do know there will be a Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance champion as Big Billy Gold defends against a rising star in both Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators and Mawa in Dylan Mesh. So that's going to be interesting. Will Connor Shaver get involved? Will Vinny the Fixer get involved? Again, I'm curious to see what happens on that. But I also know that Vinny the Fixer will be defending. He gets a special invitational to defend the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Championship. If he wants to, he can defend it more than once. He has the carte blanche when it comes to the South Jersey Geek Fest. Up until recently, he didn't like geeks and nerds and cosplayers. So, especially cosplay wrestling federations, he thinks they're a joke.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
And but I warmed up after the Nerd Force Fan Fest, but still he's looking forward. There'll be a match for him at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators event, defending the Dog Championship. The Dog Tag Team Championship will be on the line with Primal Fear will be there. Marvelous will be there. Nick Batti, Connor Schaefer, as I mentioned earlier, the Henrique. A lot of wrestlers from Dog will be there, so we'll have some great action. Plus, you get your table with Gary Michael Capetta selling his book, which we'll have to get information on how much it costs, so I can get it, let you know what it costs, and I'll tell you, Jay. And let me also know what you wanted to say when he autographs it, unless you just want his name.
If he's personalizing them, we can say to Jay Cal or to the Alliance blog. I'm not going to resell it. I have a few wrestling books in my collection, and none of them are. Well, no, I take that back. My Mankind book is autographed.
What about your autobiography? Is the Kevin Owens book signed?
It is not. You son of a bitch.
But yeah, make sure you get me what you wanted. If you wanted to say if he's going to personalize it, and I'll get him to do that for you too.
Cool.
And then after that, we have the. We're going to be back at Rowan College of Burlington County. Currently signed for that is Richard Holiday. Yeah, so we're going to try to see about getting him on the Alliance blog podcast.
Whoa.
And we got other things there. And then the winner, whoever wins the Vinny the Fixer Invitational at the South Jersey Geek Fest, will defend the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Champion, currently that being Vinny the Fixer, against William Huckabee.
Oh!
The Incredible Huck.
I believe he came on the podcast many, many moons ago.
I believe so, too. So the Incredible Huck, William Huckabee, former World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, will get a Dog Championship match, whoever the champion is. The Dog Tag Team Championships will also be on the line at that event. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That's again at the South Jersey Geek. I'm sorry, no, that's at the Rowan College of Burlington County. Then after that will be the May 2nd at the Pineland Regional High School in Little Egg Harbor, New Jersey. We're returning to Little Egg Harbor. We're making our debut in this building. Currently assigned is the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship match. Whoever that will be defended. And the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Championship will be on the line. Also, Pineland Regional High School's own Ty Thomas will be in action. And whoever the champion is, currently again Vinny the Fixer, will be defending against Tank Tolan, former WWE and Ring of Honor superstar, Monster Factory graduate, trainer at OVW, wrestled for OVW under Jim Cornette. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Plus, Fallah Bob will be there. And in case you're wondering, the Ty Thomas will be taking on his bitter rival, Nikos Rikos, the Spartan Pitbull. More coming up too, but that's a lot. So don't be greedy, people.
It's fair.
Make sure you watch all the stuff that's on the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators YouTube page. Make sure if you do, you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Don't forget that bell icon so you can never miss an upload of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators action. Also add us on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Blue Sky, which takes forever to upload anything. The X Twitter we're on there too. Reddit, I think. And if you want to get tickets for the event for the May 2nd, you actually can check our QR code, which will be on the poster, and you can take that QR code and you'll be able to order tickets. It is online and working.
Wait. This QR code.
Yes.
So you can do it right now.
Yes.
All right. That's pretty cool.
So that's everything coming up, and don't be greedy.
And don't be greedy. I think that's the key element to all of this. Hey guys, it's time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this Thursday evening. Of course, wishing you all a very happy, safe Sunday. If you celebrate, have a great Easter. If not, have a great Sunday. There'll be a lot of wrestling action for you to check out. Make sure you support your local independents. If you don't live in South Jersey and you don't live in Texas and you don't live in Southern California, support your local independents. See tomorrow's stars today. Also, if you enjoyed this podcast, please hit that like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell so you never miss an upload. We're doing a lot of we're trying to produce a lot of content here. Of course, we now have a members only section. When you subscribe to the membership page, which there is a charge for that, you get exclusive content, stuff behind the scenes, stuff that every other fan does not get to see, and it's just special for you. Plus, you get the first look at some of the shorts and clips that we put up on the site, so that you get behind the scenes footage before other people get to see it. And I plan to do a lot more with that throughout the year. So make sure if you're really enjoying the podcast and you really enjoy these live streams, to get in on that, because there's going to be a lot more fun stuff coming. Of course. Yeah.
You forgot to mention that once you hit 100 subscribers, you're going to have the debut of DK Young out of Cloud.
100 members. Yeah. I mean, we got to work on that. We have to work out, look, DK gets to say yes or no if he's going to do these things, right? It's like,
what do you mean? We're just going to take a camera, put him outside his house, and watch him yell at clouds.
That probably would actually happen. And on top of all that stuff, we are also very social on social media. So follow at the Alliance Squad on Meta, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, Twitter, Twitch. Farmers only, whatever. We're there.
Bumble.
And, which one?
Bumble.
Oh, I can't do that. I'm married. I can't do that.
What's the one that's really hot in the Republican conventions?
You know which one?
No, I can't remember what it's called. Is it Grindr?
It's not Hoagie.
Hoagies and grinders, chop it Joe, slap it Joe. Sorry.
And that'll do it for us this week. Again, thank you so much for making us part of your viewing habits. If you missed any of the interviews that have been happening over the past month, we've done quite a few of them. They will be available on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, anywhere you go to listen to your podcast. You can listen to them in your car, in your home, on your Alexa device. Just say, "Hey Alexa, play the Alliance Vlog," and you'll get to hear it right then and there. So thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. Until next time, we will see you at the matches. Good night now.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time,
The Alliance!